Bewitched, 1964, actors who have died tragically, then versus now, 1964 to 2025.
She shouldn't have anything to eat before the tests.
I'm sorry, I forgot, Aunt Agatha.
Well,
Started to another century. Well, that's a much bigger thing. That's impossible.
and Aunt Clara did.
Start in East Hampton this Saturday.
Serious talk with your grandmother.
Come now, Samantha.
Number 1. Elizabeth Montgomery. Imagine a twitch of a nose, a subtle movement that signaled magic in the air. That was the trademark of Samantha Stevens, the beloved witch brought to life by the enchanting Elizabeth Montgomery in the iconic series Bewitched, which graced our screens from 1964 to 1972. Born Elizabeth Victoria Montgomery on April 15, 1933, in Hollywood, the daughter of screen actor Robert Montgomery and Broadway actress Elizabeth Allen, her destiny seemed intertwined with the world of entertainment from the start. After honing her craft at the Academy of Dramatic Arts, Elizabeth made her television debut in her father's show, Robert Montgomery Presents, in the 1950s, becoming a familiar face in over 200 live programs. Early film roles in The Court-Martial of Billy Mitchell in 1955 and Johnny Cool in 1963 hinted at her talent, but it was Bewitched that truly cemented her place in television history. As Samantha, she captivated audiences with her charm as she navigated life with her mortal husband Darren, portrayed first by Dick York and later by Dick Sargent, and her meddling mother Endora, played brilliantly by Agnes Moorehead. Elizabeth also playfully portrayed Samantha's look-alike cousin Serena, often sporting a dark wig. Notably, she was the only cast member to appear in all 254 episodes of Bewitched. After the series concluded, Elizabeth transitioned to made-for-TV movies, earning critical acclaim for projects like A Case of Rape in 1974, The Legend of Lizzie Borden in 1975, and Black Widow Murders, the Blanche Taylor Moore story in 1993. In 1992, she lent her voice to the documentary The Panama Deception, which went on to win an Academy Award in 1993. Elizabeth Montgomery's personal life saw her married 4 times, including unions with William Asher, with whom she had 3 children, William Asher Jr., Robert Asher, and Rebecca Asher, and later, Robert Foxworth. They moved in together in 1973, but married nearly 2 decades later, in 1993. Elizabeth Montgomery passed away on May 18, 1995, in Los Angeles due to colorectal cancer. While some sources indicated she was 62, her family stated she was 57.
Mother, what are you doing here?
What am I doing here?
Molto fantastico. Oh, grazie. I've lost my powers. Great Halley's Comet.
Number 2. Agnes Moorehead Endora, the formidable and often meddling mother of Samantha Stevens in Bewitched, made her unforgettable presence known, brought to life by the remarkable Agnes Moorehead. With her signature red hair and an air of haughty elegance, Agnes Moorehead embodied the quintessential powerful mother figure who wasn't always thrilled with her daughter's mortal husband. Born in 1900, Agnes initially hesitated to take on the role of Endora in the series that graced television screens from 1964 to 1972. It was a personal request from Elizabeth Montgomery during a chance meeting in a department store that ultimately convinced her. Little did she know that the show she expected to last only a single season would become a long-running hit, solidifying her place in television history. Beyond her iconic portrayal of Endora, a character often marked by arrogance and a touch of disdain for the mundane, Agnes Moorehead had a long and distinguished career. She frequently collaborated with legendary figures like Orson Welles, Jane Wyman, and Debbie Reynolds, showcasing her versatility across various roles. Before her Hollywood success, she shared her passion for the arts by teaching high school, directing school plays, and coaching the oratory team in Soldiers Grove, Wisconsin, leading her students to numerous contest victories. Academically accomplished, she earned a bachelor's degree in biology, and later received an honorary Lit D degree from Muskingum University. Her talent was widely recognized with prestigious awards, including a Primetime Emmy Award for Outstanding Supporting Actress in a Drama Series in 1967 for The Wild Wild West, and Golden Globe Awards for Best Supporting Actress for her compelling performances in Hush, Hush, Sweet Charlotte in 1965, and Mrs. Parkington in 1945. She also holds the distinction of being the first woman to co-host the Academy Awards in 1948 alongside Dick Powell. In later years, her enduring portrayal of Endora was celebrated with a posthumous TV Land Favorite Classic TV In-Law Award in 2003 for Bewitched. Agnes Moorehead passed away from uterine cancer on April 30, 1974, in Rochester, Minnesota, at the age of 73.
Between your teeth and flap your arms like this.
Finally, one night I agreed.
Number 3. David White Larry Tate in Bewitched, brought to life by the talented David White. Best known to the public for this role in the series that aired from 1964 to 1972. David White created a memorable character as the head of McMahon and Tate Advertising Agency. Born Daniel David White on April 4, 1916, in Denver, Colorado, David White was an American stage actor who transitioned successfully to television, with occasional but impressive appearances in films. A veteran of the U.S. Marine Corps in World War II, he honed his craft on Broadway and in touring stage productions after the war. By the late 1950s, he became an increasingly familiar face on American television, following a strong performance in the film Sweet Smell of Success. Often portraying bosses or businessmen, a typecasting perhaps emphasized by his premature grey hair, White achieved his greatest fame as the unctuous but ultimately likable Larry Tate. He continued his work in the theater, notably with the acclaimed Theater West Company in Los Angeles and at the Mark Taper Forum. David White's personal life was marked by both joy and profound tragedy. He was married twice, first to Lisa Figgis, with whom he had a daughter, Alexandra. His second marriage was to Mary Welch, with whom he had a son, Jonathan, born in 1958. Sadly, Mary passed away in 1958. A devastating blow struck in December 1988 when his 33-year-old son, Jonathan, was killed in the terrorist bombing of Pan Am Flight 103 over Lockerbie, Scotland. David White, already widowed, was deeply embittered by this new tragedy and became reclusive for a time. He was beginning to return to social activities and theatre work when he suffered a fatal heart attack on November 27, 1990, at the North Hollywood Medical Center in Los Angeles, just days before the second anniversary of his son's death. He was 74 years old.
I said fog. You know, the stuff that... He is a bit of a pill, but once you get to know him, he's not so hard to...
Number 4. Dick York Darren Stevens. In the early years of Bewitched, brought to life by the talented Dick York. Born Richard Allen York in 1928, Dick York graced the screen as Darren from 1964 to 1969, appearing in 170 episodes of the beloved series. Beyond his iconic role, York had a notable career in both film and television. In 1960, he starred as Bertram T. Cates in the powerful film Inherit the Wind, alongside Gene Kelly and Spencer Tracy. Earlier in his career, he appeared as Ted Rec Loomis in the 1955 movie My Sister Eileen, and as Charlie, a trail hand, in the 1958 film Cowboy with Jack Lemmon and Glenn Ford. He also made appearances in popular television series like Wagon Train and Rawhide. However, his time on Bewitched was cut short due to a severe health issue. As he recounted, during the filming, battling a high fever and on strong antibiotics, he experienced a seizure while on set, a frightening incident that led to his departure from the show. He vividly described the flickering spotlight triggering the episode, leading to a fall and a serious tongue injury. Despite the challenges he faced, Dick York held a unique perspective on his life and career. He once mused, "You know, 3 whales get in trouble, and people from all over volunteer to help. Wouldn't it be wonderful if one old has-been actor with a hose up his nose could help millions?" Reflecting on his time at home due to his health, he stated, "I have done more in this chair here than I could have ever done in Hollywood." He also offered a personal insight into his priorities, saying, "I don't work because I love it. In our household, work is something Daddy does to provide us with things we need for our physical comforts. I love other things more than my work." Towards the end of his life, Dick York shared a heartfelt message. "I am happy, complete. I know that you've known me a very long time. I've been on television, I've been in your living rooms, and now I'm in your heart." Dick York passed away on February 20, 1992, at the age of 63, due to complications of emphysema, a condition resulting from a heavy smoking habit. Number 5. Dick Sargent. Dick Sargent, who took on the role of Darren Stevens in Bewitched from 1969 to the show's conclusion in 1972. Born Richard Cox on April 19, 1930, in Carmel, California, Dick Sargent, known for his congenial and mild-mannered demeanor, became the second bemused mortal husband to Elizabeth Montgomery's Samantha. Interestingly, he was the original choice for the role in 1964, but was under contract with Universal Studios at the time, paving the way for Dick York. When York's chronic back pain forced his departure, Sargent stepped in without any on-screen explanation for the change, becoming a familiar face in the show's later seasons. The son of a minor actress, Ruth McNaughton, stage name Ruth Powell, and a WWI veteran turned Hollywood business manager, Colonel Elmer Cox, Dick Sargent attended the San Rafael Military Academy, and later majored in drama at Stanford University. His early career saw him in an uncredited role in the 1954 film Prisoner of War. Using the name Richard Sargent, he built a steady television resume with appearances in series like Gunsmoke, Wagon Train, I Dream of Jeannie, and Adam 12. He also had regular roles in One Happy Family and Broadside. Though considered a dependable performer, Sargent's work was sometimes seen as ordinary. However, he found more notable supporting roles in hit comedies, such as Operation Petticoat and That Touch of Mink, both starring Cary Grant. He also appeared in less memorable films like Fluffy, Billy, The Ghost and Mr. Chicken, Live a Little, Love a Little, and The Private Navy of Sergeant O'Farrell. A potential big break on Tammy Grimes' TV show in 1966 lasted only 4 weeks. His 3 seasons on Bewitched, marked by his towering height and thick, nasally commanding voice, made him a household face. Following Bewitched, Sargent continued to work in television, guest starring in shows like Taxi, Alice, Fantasy Island, and Three's Company. He also took on a more dramatic role in George C. Scott's film Hardcore and appeared in another witch-themed movie, Teen Witch. Additionally, he did voice work for commercials and performed on stage. In 1989, Dick Sargent was diagnosed with prostate cancer. Later in life, he openly revealed his homosexuality after tabloid speculation linked his illness to AIDS. Dick Sargent passed away in 1994, having lived his final years openly and contentedly. He was never married, but had a longtime companion for 2 decades, until his passing in 1979.
Honey, you just don't understand. Your problem is that you love me.
What?
I'm a witch.
That's wonderful. We'll talk about it.
Number 6. George Tobias, Abner Kravitz, in Bewitched, brought to life with comedic brilliance by George Tobias. Born in New York City on July 14, 1901, George Tobias became a beloved character in the series that ran from 1964 to 1972, portraying the long-suffering Abner, who often had to endure his wife Gladys's, Alice Pierce, and later Sandra Gould, outlandish accounts of the Stevens household. A versatile character actor, Tobias was known for playing the amiable, often none too bright pal of the lead, though his range extended to villains and various ethnic types. He honed his acting skills on stage, studying at the neighborhood playhouse and performing on Broadway with the Theatre Guild and the Provincetown Players. In the late 1930s, he made his way to Hollywood, quickly becoming a familiar face, particularly at Warner Brothers. He frequently teamed up with James Cagney, showcasing his talent in comedies, dramas, and musicals alike. Beyond Bewitched, he reprised his role as Abner in the short-lived sequel series Tabitha in 1976. Tobias's filmography boasts appearances in 4 Academy Award nominees for Best Picture: Ninotchka in 1939, Sergeant York in 1941, Yankee Doodle Dandy in 1942, and Mildred Pierce in 1945. He also had the unique experience of appearing in both the original film Ninotchka and its musical remake, Silk Stockings, in 1957. In The Mask of Demetrios in 1944, he played a prominent supporting role as Mushkin. George Tobias was a lifelong bachelor, but maintained a 40-year on-again, off-again relationship with actress Millicent Patrick until his passing. In a bizarre turn of events, the hearse carrying his body was stolen en route to the mortuary after a minor car accident, only to be recovered shortly thereafter with his remains. George Tobias passed away from bladder cancer on February 27, 1980, at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center in Los Angeles, at the age of 78. Retired from acting in 1977, leaving behind a legacy of memorable character portrayals. Number 7. Casey Rogers. Casey Rogers' experience when she took over the character of Louise Tate in the iconic series Bewitched. Born Josie Imogene Rogers on December 15, 1925, in Morehouse, Missouri, Casey Rogers became the second actress to play Larry Tate's wife, joining the show in 1966 and continuing in the role until the series concluded in 1972, appearing in 33 episodes. Moving to California with her family at a young age, she acquired the nickname Casey due to her baseball prowess, later changing the C to a K. During her early career at Paramount in the late 1940s and early 1950s, the studio renamed her Laura Elliott, a moniker under which she appeared in several films, including Alfred Hitchcock's classic Strangers on a Train in 1951, where she played Farley Granger's estranged wife, Miriam Joyce Haynes, a brief but memorable role as a strangling victim. She also appeared as Linda Prescott in Denver and Rio Grande in 1952 and as Lucille Peters in Special Agent in 1949. However, she later returned to using the name Casey Rogers. Interestingly, to maintain continuity with the first Louise Tate, Irene Vernon, who had red hair, Casey initially wore a black bouffant wig on Bewitched. Once she was established in the role, she eventually stopped wearing the wig, revealing her own red hair. Beyond acting, Casey Rogers was a pioneering figure in women's motocross. She established the Powder Puffs Unlimited Riders and Racers Association and spearheaded its first race. A year later, she successfully advocated for women's participation in the Super Bowl of motocross at the Los Angeles Coliseum. She continued racing until 1977, twice married, first to James Farrell Donnellan, with whom she had one child, James Donnellan, and later to Walter Winslow Bud Lewis III, with whom she had 3 children. Casey Rogers was also a grandmother. In her later years, she turned her talents to writing and development, including a proposed new TV series titled Son of a Witch. After battling throat cancer for many years, Casey Rogers passed away on July 6, 2006, in Los Angeles, at the age of 80, due to a stroke resulting from complications of her cancer treatment.
Oh, mortal world, all you need is a good reason to lie. Yes. No, I mean,
Number 8. Sandra Gould, as Gladys Kravitz, the ultimate neighborhood snoop in Bewitched. Born Sandra Goldfarb Gould in Brooklyn, New York, on July 23, 1916. Sandra took over the role of Gladys in 1966, at the start of the 3rd season, replacing the late Alice Pierce and continuing for 5 seasons until the show's end in 1972. She became the second, and for many, the definitive, Gladys Kravitz, the wife of Abner, George Tobias, forever convinced of the strange goings-on at the Stevens residence. Standing just under 5 feet tall, with a distinctive chubby chipmunk-like face, Sandra Gould carved a unique niche in entertainment across stage, screen, TV, and radio for over 5 decades. Her career began as a teenager with roles in the musical revue Thumbs Up in 1934, and the comedy Having Wonderful Time in 1937. Her unique voice was also a perfect fit for radio, leading to numerous appearances on programs like My Friend Irma and Duffy's Tavern, where she succeeded Shirley Booth. For nearly 15 years, she was a part of Jack Benny's legendary radio program. By 1947, Sandra began appearing in minor film roles, often portraying unhelpful telephone operators, gossipy receptionists, abrupt landladies, or curt salesladies, bringing her signature New York flair to movies like June Bride, Romance on the High Seas, My Dream Is Yours, or With Doris Day, 14 Hours, Imitation of Life, and The Ghost and Mr. Chicken. While film roles were often small, television comedy provided more visibility. Besides being a regular on I Married Joan in the 1950s, she is fondly remembered for a classic I Love Lucy episode. She also appeared in numerous popular comedy series, including Our Miss Brooks, December Brides, The Danny Thomas Show, I Dream of Jeannie, and even provided cartoon voices for the Flintstones. Her role as Gladys Kravitz in Bewitched marked her biggest career breakthrough. After Bewitched, Sandra slowed down but never fully retired, focusing more on art and writing. She made guest appearances in shows like Love, American Style, The Brady Bunch, Tabitha, reprising her role as Gladys alongside George Tobias as Abner, and Friends. Her later film appearances included Airport, The Barefoot Executive, and Deep Cover. Sandra Gould was married twice, first to broadcasting executive Larry Burns, with whom she had a son, writer, producer Michael Burns. After his death, she married TV director Hollingsworth Morse, who also predeceased her. Sandra Gould passed away from a stroke on July 20, 1999 in Burbank, California, just 3 days before her 83rd birthday. Number 9. Alice Pierce, Gladys Kravitz, in Bewitched, a role indelibly associated with both Alice Pierce and Sandra Gould. Alice Pierce, the first actress to portray Gladys from 1964 until her untimely passing in 1966, brought a unique comedic energy to the character, earning a Primetime Emmy Award for Outstanding Supporting Actress in a comedy series in 1966 for her work on Bewitched. 1. Her portrayal established Gladys as the neighborhood's most persistent and often disbelieved observer of Samantha's magical activities. Beyond Bewitched, Alice Pierce had a career spanning stage and screen, including the play Fallen Angels, for which she received an Outer Critics Circle Award for Special Citations in 1956. Her distinctive comedic timing and memorable expressions made her a beloved part of the show's early years.
Trying to get you interested in civic affairs and you need words. What do I care about words?
So what do you want me to do, applaud?
No, she opened it. No hands, nothing. She just sat.
Bernard Foxon, before an American producer, offered him a chance in Hollywood. In 1962, he made his American stage debut. The 1960s saw him become a familiar face on television, notably as the cranky, yet ultimately helpful, Doctor. Bombay in Bewitched, 1964 to 1972. A character he mentioned was inspired by a naval officer he served with. He also famously played the buffoonish Colonel Rodney Crittenden in Hogan's Heroes. Interestingly, he portrayed Dr. Watson to Stuart Granger's Sherlock Holmes in The Hound of the Baskervilles in 1972. His numerous guest roles often involved playing visiting English officers in series like 12 O'Clock High, The Man from UNCLE, Columbo, and MI/H. Later in his career, he appeared in the blockbuster Titanic as Archibald Gracie IV and in The Mummy as the unflappable aviator Winston Havelock. His dedication to theatre continued with engagements in Canada, Las Vegas, Los Angeles, and a Broadway production of 3 Rue de l'Amour. Remarkably, Bernard Fox holds the distinction of playing the same character, Dr. Bombay, in 3 different television series: Bewitched, its sequel Tabitha, and even later in the soap opera Passions. He was also known for his 3 guest appearances on The Andy Griffith Show as the lovable Mr. Malcolm Merriweather. Uniquely, Fox appeared in both the 1997 film Titanic and the earlier 1958 movie A Night to Remember, where he delivered the iconic line, "Iceberg dead ahead, sir." In his private life, Bernard Fox was a respected theatre historian, a keen gardener, a landscape painter, and a magic enthusiast. He was married to Jacqueline from 1961 until his death, and they had 2 children, Amanda and Valerie. Bernard Fox passed away on December 14, 2016, at the age of 89, due to heart failure, leaving behind a legacy of memorable and often humorous character portrayals. He was also the nephew of actor Wilfrid Lawson and the son of actor Gerald Lawson and actress Queenie Barrett.
You have a cold. I have a cold. That's what I just said.
Number 12. Mabel Albertson. Mabel Albertson, best known to Bewitched audiences as Phyllis Stevens, Darren's often critical but ultimately loving mother. While she became a familiar face in film and television in her 50s, Mabel was far from a newcomer to the industry. Born Mabel Ida Albertson on July 24, 1901, in Lynn, Massachusetts, she had already carved out a successful career as a vaudeville performer in the 1920s, a radio star in the 1930s, and a theatre actress and director in the 1940s. She had even ventured into film twice in 1928 and 1940, though without significant success at the time. Ironically, it was the film and television industry that had previously eluded her, that would make her unforgettable from the early 1950s to the late 1970s. Mabel's knack for portraying the ultimate haughty, judgmental, often wealthy, mother-in-law, or mother, or stepmother, or auntie, made her a sought-after character actress. Her comedic timing and ability to make these often obnoxious characters hilarious shone through in films like Don't Give Up the Ship, or The Fine Young Cannibals, and Period of Adjustment. On television, she brought her signature maternal exasperation to roles as the mother of characters played by Tom Ewell, Dick Van Dyke, and of course Dick Sargent in Bewitched, where she recurred as Phyllis Stevens from 1964 to 1971. Notably, in the 60s and early 70s, she also had recurring roles as the mothers of characters in That Girl, The Andy Griffith Show, and The New Dick Van Dyke Show, showcasing her versatility in playing similar maternal figures with distinct nuances. Mabel Albertson was married twice, first to Harold Austin Ripley, with whom she had a son, George England, and later to Ken England. She was also the former mother-in-law of the acclaimed actress Cloris Leachman. Mabel was the sister of fellow actor Jack Albertson. Born to Russian Jewish immigrant parents, Leopold and Flora Albertson, her mother's maiden name was Kraft. It's interesting to note that she was often mistakenly identified as the sister of actor Frank Albertson, who had a different family background. Mabel Albertson passed away on September 28, 1982, at St. John's Hospital in Santa Monica, California, at the age of 81, due to complications of Alzheimer's disease. Her ashes were scattered in the Pacific Ocean, marking the end of a long and fruitful career that finally found its widest recognition in her later years, proving that talent and perseverance can lead to unforgettable performances, even after initial setbacks. Number 13. Dick Wilson in his recurring roles in Bewitched, where he appeared in 18 episodes, 7 times specifically playing a drunk character, as well as other roles like Mr. Potter and A Man in a Bar from 1965 to 1972. It's a humorous irony that Dick Wilson, who so convincingly portrayed inebriated individuals on screen, claimed to have never taken a drink in his life. Born Riccardo di Guglielmo on July 30, 1916, in Preston, Lancashire, England, to a vaudeville entertainer and a singer, his family moved to Canada when he was a child. Dick Wilson had a long and varied career in television and film. Beyond Bewitched, he was known for his appearances in The Twilight Zone and the magical world of Disney. However, Dick Wilson achieved perhaps his greatest fame for his portrayal of Mr. Whipple in Charmin toilet paper commercials for 25 years. His memorable line, "Please don't squeeze the Charmin," became a cultural catchphrase. In appreciation for his over 500 performances as the highly recognizable Mr. Whipple, Procter & Gamble reportedly provided Wilson with a free lifetime supply of Charmin toilet tissue. Reflecting on his career, Wilson humorously noted, "I've done 38 pictures and nobody remembers any of them, but they all remember me selling toilet paper." He also offered an insightful perspective on the demanding nature of commercial work, stating, "Commercials are the hardest thing to do in the entire acting realm. You've got 24 seconds to introduce yourself, introduce the product, say something nice about it, and get off gracefully." Dick Wilson served in the Royal Canadian Air Force during World War II. He was married to Meg Brown from 1959 until his death, and they had 3 children, Melanie, Stuart, and Wendy. Dick Wilson passed away of natural causes on November 19, 2007, in Woodland Hills, California, at the age of 91. Number 14. Alice Ghostley. Alice Ghostley. Born on August 14, 1923, Alice Ghostley became a regular on the show in 1969, filling a void after the passing of Marion Lorne, who played Aunt Clara. However, her first appearance in Bewitched was actually as a bumbling mortal maid, an impression so strong that the producers created the character of Esmeralda specifically for her. Alice Ghostley had a distinguished career that spanned beyond television. She was a successful Broadway actress, winning a Tony Award for Best Featured Actress in The Sign in Sidney Brustein's Window. Her talent was recognized by her peers, as evidenced when she accepted the Best Actress Oscar in 1969 on behalf of Maggie Smith for her performance in The Prime of Miss Jean Brodie, as the two had previously starred together on Broadway in New Faces of 1956. Interestingly, Alice was partially inspired to become an entertainer by a cousin who was a tightrope walker for the Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus. She even had a cameo appearance alongside Marion Lorne in the film The Graduate in 1967. Reflecting on her early career, Alice was candid about not fitting the traditional ingenue mold. She noted in a 1990 interview, "I knew I didn't look like an ingenue. My nose was too long. I had crooked teeth. I wasn't blonde. I knew I looked like a character actress." She also recounted being advised to get her eyes straightened early in her singing career. Before her breakthrough roles, she even worked as a theatre usher in New York, allowing her to see many plays for free, which she considered a valuable learning experience. Alice Ghostley was married to Felice Orlandi from October 6, 1951, until his death on May 21, 2003. Sadly, her own career was curtailed by a series of strokes around the millennium. Alice Ghostley passed away on September 21, 2007, at the age of 84, due to colon cancer and the lasting effects of those strokes.
Esmeralda?
First mysterious illusion, I will take this ordinary metal triangle and...
Number 15. Irene Vernon Louise Tate in the early seasons of Bewitched, and the role was first brought to life by Irene Vernon. Born Irene Vergowen on January 16, 1922, in Mishawaka, Indiana, Irene Vernon was the first actress to portray Mrs. Larry Tate, appearing in 13 episodes of the beloved series from 1964 to 1966. Before landing her role in Bewitched, Vernon had a career that included appearances in the television series Fireside Theatre and the film The Sound of Fury. After graduating from Mishawaka High School, she pursued acting in New York, even performing as a dancer in nightclubs and appearing in Broadway shows like Artists and Models on Broadway. This led to a contract with Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer Studios, where she took on smaller roles in films. Irene Vernon's connection to Bewitched came through Danny Arnold, a producer she knew from her time in New York. Initially, the role of Louise was described as small, but with the potential to grow. However, Irene Vernon's time on the show was relatively brief. According to some sources, she was allegedly fired by Elizabeth Montgomery and William Asher after 2 seasons due to her association with Danny Arnold, who had left the show. After her departure from Bewitched, Irene Vernon transitioned into a successful career in real estate and lived in Beverly Hills, California, before later remarrying and moving to Florida. She was married twice, first to Edward Duryea Dowling, and later to Emanuel Rosenberg. Irene Vernon, known as Irene Rosenberg at the time of her passing, died on April 21, 1998, in South Bend, Indiana, at the age of 76. Her death certificate indicates that she passed away from congestive heart failure and coronary artery disease. She is interred at St. Joseph Catholic Cemetery in Mishawaka, Indiana.
Oh, Samantha, what am I going to do?
Hi there.
Hello?
Maurice Evans. Maurice, Samantha's warlock father, brought to life with theatrical flair by the distinguished English actor Maurice Evans in Bewitched. Born on June 3, 1901, Maurice Evans became a recurring and memorable character in the series. Maurice Evans was an actor of considerable stature, particularly renowned for his interpretations of Shakespearean roles. While John Barrymore is often considered the greatest American Shakespearean actor of the 20th century, the British-born Evans was a United States preeminent exponent of Shakespeare from 1936 to 1946. During this period, he starred in no less than 4 successive Broadway productions of Hamlet, as well as other plays by the Bard. Remarkably, he portrayed Hamlet in 5 consecutive revivals on Broadway between 1939 and 1947, possibly playing the role more times on Broadway than any other actor in history. Additionally, Evans appeared in more Broadway productions of Shakespeare's Richard II than any other actor, a record that remained unbroken as of 2004. His 1937 production of Richard II holds the record as the longest-running production of the tragedy on Broadway. Beyond his stage work, Evans transitioned to television, notably as the producer of Shakespeare plays for the Hallmark Hall of Fame. His philosophy as a producer was clear. Our job is to lead public taste, not play to what is thought to be public taste. His work in television earned him a Primetime Emmy Award for Outstanding Single Performance by an Actor, in a leading role in 1961 for Hallmark Hall of Fame. He also received a Tony Award for Best Play in 1954 for The Tea House of the August Moon, and a special Tony Award in 1950, as well as an Outer Critics Circle Award for Special Citations in 1963. In Bewitched, Maurice played Samantha's father, a sophisticated and often opinionated warlock who frequently intervened in his daughter's mortal life, often with humorous or chaotic results. His rich, smooth voice and commanding presence made him a delightful addition to the show's magical world. Maurice Evans passed away at the age of 87 on March 12, 1989, in a Sussex nursing home due to heart failure resulting from a bronchial infection. He was the second longest-lived regular or recurring cast member of Bewitched, after Bernard Fox, Dr. Bombay. Despite being overshadowed in later years by the fame of Laurence Olivier and John Gielgud in the realm of Shakespearean performance, Maurice Evans left an indelible mark as a distinguished actor of both stage and screen. He had no children and was the son of Alfred Herbert Evans and Laura Turner. His trademark was undoubtedly his roles in Shakespearean adaptations and his rich, smooth voice.